What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos, and it's Tuesday, so we're talking some tech today. There have been a lot of little veggies running around lately in the meta. There's a lot of strategies that like to go wide instead of tall, and there has been a slew of counterplays introduced into the meta with the release of Set 7. One of the cards I don't see a lot of people talking about is Unexpected Turn. So that's what we're going to talk about today here on Tech Talk. So let's look at this card. It's a 1-drop black extra card, so it has no restricted energy cost. It's a counter play. Let's read its effect. If your opponent has 3 or more battle cards in play with energy cost of 2 or more, the battle card your opponent is playing is placed in its owner's drop area instead. Then choose all battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and send them to their owner's warps. So there's a lot of text. It's a little confusing. So let's walk through it together, and then we'll talk about why this card is good. So obviously counterplay, so you have to activate it in the counterplay window. If your opponent has 3 or more battle cards in play with energy cost of 2 or more. So that means your opponent has to have 3 or more with 2 or higher. So essentially, a lot of people play around Kami by staying at 3 battle cards, but Unexpected Turn will meet that first requirement when they have 3 or more battle cards. So it's 1 less card on the board than Kami, but they have to be 2 or more. So this is a total of up to 3 cards on the board that are 2 drops or higher. So it's very easy to do that. The first deck I can think off the top of my head would be the U6 Kaba deck, and as well as a skillless Goku with all of the vanillas and stuff like that. So your opponent has 3 or more battle cards in play with energy cost 2 or more. The battle card your opponent is playing is placed in the drop area instead. So if they already have 3 or more battle cards on the board, the card they're attempting to play is what you're counterplaying essentially. So if they have a board of 3 and they want to play a 4th creature or a 4th battle card, you're going to activate Unexpected Turn in response to that, and that card gets sent to the drop area instead of getting played. So it works like all of the other counterplays: Denial of Hope, Preemptive Strike, You're Wide Open, and what's the green one? Well, the green one is Preemptive Strike, and there is no yellow one, so there's that. So it just completely negates the summon of the card, sends it right to the drop area, and then your opponent's card goes to the drop area instead. Then choose all battle cards with energy cost of 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and send them to their owner's warp. So that is going to be more of situational condition. Obviously, once you meet the first part of the effect, when your opponent has 3 or more that are 2 or more in play, you can trigger this card. Whether or not they have anything that's 2 or less doesn't necessarily matter. It's just an added bonus. If they try to go super wide, with little 1-drops and 2-drops, they're gonna, pay the penalty for stuff like that. But if you're looking at skillless, is the perfect example. Usually skillless will have a board of about 3 to 4 battle cards by turn 3. So they'll have the 1-drop Kidku, they'll have the 1-drop Aandroidd 8 probably. They'll have a couple of vanillas, maybe a 2 or 3-drop vanilla. They can have a Training Buddy Krillin. So there's a couple of things that they could play. So let's say in a situation where you want to activate this card, you're playing against skillless. Their board is Adventure Begins, Training Buddy Krillin, a 2-drop vanilla. So those are your 3 battle cards, right? But you need to have 3 battle cards that cost 2 or more. So let's say you have 1-drop Kidku, Training Buddy Krillin, and 2 vanillas. So whether it's a 2-drop or a 3-drop doesn't matter for this example, but there's a total of 4 battle cards on the board. If they go to activate Kid Goku's skill to pay the 2 energy to play the vanilla from the deck or from the drop area, you activate Unexpected Turn. They never get to resolve that skill, so the skillless, the 3-drop or the 2-drop won't come out, and then all of their cards get sent to the warp. So yeah, so if they have Training Buddy Krillin with 2-drops and a Kidku, they're losing their entire board. So just for 1 energy, you can do that. Obviously, there are some situations where that has to come up, and you have to meet the requirements in order to activate that skill. But it's a lot more doable than you think, especially with decks that like to go wide. Now, if you're looking at U6 veggies, you have to be kind of specific as to when you're going to play this card. They can flood the board very quickly. They can end up with boards like Champavados, Kale Caulifla, and then they can play another thing. So you definitely want to look forward to that specific situation. Now you have to remember that the counterplay itself is happening to the card that's being played. So if you're playing against U6 and they have all their 4-drops on board and they want to go ahead and bring in anything essentially, as long as you meet that condition, you're only going to clear their board if it's 2 or less. So let's say they have Champavados on board with Kale and Khalifa, the 4-drops, and they want to make a play and go into 2-drop Kale that looks at top 10. So when they play 2-drop Kale is when you activate the counterplay. Kale goes to the drop, never resolves her effect to look at top 10, and then the second part of the effect would trigger, which would kill the rest of the board that's 2 or less. Obviously, you're not going to meet that requirement because they're just going to be 4-drops on the board. But in the instance where they've already established their board, right, and they're trying to not combo evolve, but when they combo with their veggies to play them on top, you can respond to that as well because that's a card being played. So let's say they have, let's say that you got 1-drop Caulifla on board, 2-drop Kale, 2-drop Caulifla, Champavados. That's your board. So now your opponent is swinging at you with Kaba, and they want to combo play the Caulifla on top of one of the 1-drops. So you go ahead and you're going to activate Unexpected Turn because they're going to have Champavados, Kale, which is a 2-drop, and the yellow Caulifla, which is a 2-drop, along with the other 2 1-drops. So you're going to play that card in response to the play of Caulifla. She's never going to hit the board, and now you're going to clear everything off of the board that's 2 or less. So you're going to clear the 2 1-drops, you're going to clear the 2 2-drops, the only thing that's going to stay there is Champavados. So it can be a pretty good effective board wipe, essentially. I think Kami is a little bit easier to resolve because it's just have battle cards, more than 3 battle cards, and then anything that's 4 or less gets KO'd, essentially. I think that's a little easier to resolve, but it is 3 energy. You're playing 1 for Kami and then 2 for the activate main. Unexpected Turn is a lot more situational, but it's a lot cheaper as well. So for 1 energy, you're essentially kind of doing similar to what Kami would be doing. You're just interrupting a play, which is going to be very big now in the meta moving forward with all the counterplays. Not to mention the art on the card is actually sick. If you do follow the lore behind the Xenoverse games and stuff like that, obviously in Xenoverse 2, this was one of the scenes where once Mass Saiyan reveals who it is behind the mask, spoilers, it's Bardock, he loses the spell that Toa has put on him. He starts to go crazy, puts Mira in a full Nelson, takes him to the Demon Realm, and proceeds to whoop his ass by turning into Super Saiyan 3. So that's just a little bit of a lore behind what the artwork is portraying. But I would definitely give this card a shot. I think this is a side deck staple right now in the game because there are a few decks that are going wide, especially veggies. If you're having a lot of problem with veggies, this is a good answer to that specific situation. Obviously, if you hate playing against Kid Ku, this is a very effective situation that you'll come up a lot more against Kid Ku than you would against veggies, but as long as you're disrupting something, that's what matters. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about this card. Have you been testing it? Have you had success with it? Where do you think is the optimal play or the optimal situation to use this card? Thank you guys again for all the support. We really do appreciate it here at No Counters, No Combos. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.